Made by Dicel because Frog is lazy. Well, okay. I think it's a team effort, Sam. Okay. This. Oh, she's hilarious. Hello and welcome. I am Joe Crazy, and today we're doing something a bit different. Mike Schrober has a question here. He says, "Hey, so we're currently polling to see how many people play ladders. Please fill out the Google form. It's just 7 questions. Thanks." And I thought to myself, and he's like, "How do you play ladders?" I'm like, "Well, there's rules for how to play ladders." And yes, I am and my friend group are not the best track record when it comes to rules. I get it. So, I want to do this on cam, on record, on the record. So we have the post here. It says, "How do you play ladders? Hi, and welcome to this totally non-controversial thread. I'm trying to capture some info on how people play ladders in the real world. So when you answer the questions below, please don't check the rules." Got it. No problem with that. Just answer with your gut response. I got a big gut right here, so no problem with that. Based on how you have played in the past, or how you guess if you were asked at a tournament, don't worry about it. Whether your answers are self-consistent either, just take one as it comes. Here we go. We got Rygar. He's a C3V SOV character. It says, "How much movement does Rygar need to get to the top level 3 Swamp Hex?" This is level 1. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, level 1. If right here, right behind Rygar, that would be level 2. And then up top of here would be level 3. So in my personal opinion, and what I assume the rules are going to say and tell me, is that I can climb on the ladder. So that's 1 movement. And then I get another movement to get on top, and that'd be 2. So first answer to me is 2. Okay, easy. So how much movement does Rygar need to get onto the ladder? This is interesting. In my opinion, what I believe what the rules have said, I believe you only need 1. But I'm not sure, because do you need to step down and then back up for the ladder, even though the ladder essentially consists of that whole space, if that makes sense. But if you're climbing, but you don't leap. You don't leap to the ladder. Okay, so no, I don't know. You'd have to go down. You'd have to step down and then step onto the ladder and then step on top. So in this answer, it would also be 2. How much movement does Rygar need to get onto the ladder? We just need to know how much he needs to get to the ladder. If it's 1, that makes sense. But if it's 2, that also makes sense. But I'm just gonna go with the safe bet. It occupies the same space. So if he had to walk into it, he'd have to step down, right? He'd have to step down, because that's kind of like, not cheating, but it feels wrong if you just be like, if I'm walking up to a ladder, RL, okay, IRL. If I'm walking up to a ladder, I'm not gonna just be walking normally and then just hop onto the ladder, right? Like, not gonna say. I mean, I guess it's a battle situation. So if I was Rygar and my big staff, and I'm charging to a ladder, I guess I'm not gonna give a hoot and I could just like leap onto it. I don't know. We're doing this for fun. All right, I'll say 1. You only need 1 to get to the ladder. If you're from that spot, you can just climb right on the ladder and then hop on top. So 1. Okay, the next question. How much movement does Rygar need to get to the landing space of the ladder, the level 1 rock hex? So this one right below. Can't he just jump off? Does he have to climb onto the ladder? Does he have to climb? Either he can just jump off, which makes sense, but also if since the ladder's there, does he have to jump onto the ladder first and then climb down? Because in scenario B over here, we were like, okay, once again, a two situational answer. So we were from here, we're like, okay, the ladder's there, so to have an advantage, he just jumps right onto the ladder, no biggie. But here, when climbing down, because either way you do it, from his point of view, if he had to go behind himself or in front, it would be 2 movement to get to this spot. So with the ladder being there, is it a disadvantage and he'd have to take 2 movement to get down? Or can he just jump off? Is it an option? Do you have an option to do that? I don't know why you wouldn't take that option. The only reason you would take that option if by chance that if Rygar was on a castle and he had to climb down and he couldn't take the fall damage, then he would have to he had the option to climb down the ladder instead of just jumping off, like most characters some characters could do or could handle. But I don't think Rygar would be able to if he was on a castle piece. But then the question is not if he's on a castle piece. So is the ladder... The idea is if the ladder is an optional choice or a must choice when it's there. Do you have to use the ladder? Obviously, when you're climbing up, yeah, if the ladder's there, then I feel like you need to use the ladder, right? Or is the ladder an option? So I said earlier, I'm trying to keep consistent. I don't want to keep going back and forth. So with the idea that you have to use the ladder, we'll go on that. Let's go with if the ladder is not an option, so that from here to get to top, it's 1, 2, done. If you have to use a ladder, it's 1 to get right onto the ladder, and for this one to get down, it'd have to be 2, since you have to use the ladder. How much movement does Rygar need to get to the adjacent level 2 Swamp Hex? Because what's special about the ladder is that the ladders essentially merge 2 hexes together, so it's easier to climb. But in situations like this, where they do essentially help, but do hinder, let's say, I think it's either large and huge characters as well as double base characters, it hinders them because they can't use the ladders. So, but for single base characters that are small, medium, they can use the ladders, no big deal. So it'd have to be 1. How much movement does Rygar need to get to the adjacent level 2 hex? Okay, yeah, so from here, from his spot to right behind him. So with going behind, it would have to also be 1, right? He just kind of like goes from here, because it's the same hex, to over 1. So it'd be 1 spot. So D is 1, and then E is also 1. How much movement does Rygar need to get to the adjacent level 3 rock hex? Wouldn't it also be 1? Because he's already on the ladder, and he kind of just, like, hops to the ladder, right? He just hops on the ladder. And when he's on the ladder, he just jumps onto the rock. And we're basing this off of the idea that you have to use... No, if you're going... Oh, shoot. If we're going off the idea that we have to use the ladder, we're already using the ladder. Do you have to go back down to go back up? Oh man, no. No, because you're using, okay, hold on. The ladder is only attached to the one that's to the right. His right. His right is over here. And then his left. So there's no ladder there. So why would he be able to just, hop on? Why would he just, like, be able to easily just hop onto a ladder? The ladder's... Yeah, but if this was a higher situation, I think the question is, if this was a higher situation, if this was, the height levels were higher, right? Let's say 2 castles. Because I think that's the demonstration in the castle PDF or pamphlet. They give examples of of like higher situations using the castle pieces. They don't give you this situation. And I think this poses up the most questions because when you have a lot of height to deal with, the automatic assumption is like, yeah, so if you have a lot of tall rock and you jump to a ladder, you can just jump to a ladder, no big deal. But then when you're going back, you just kind of like clamber up. You're essentially clambering onto the rock. So it would have to be 1. Even though there's no ladder there, but you're close enough. The space that the ladder is on is occupying both spaces, so that entire space is the ladder space. Not just the ladder is attached to the swamp tiles, but the entire space is now ladder. It's the entire thing is just a ladder going up and down. Which is to me, it sounds silly to say that. I don't like saying it like that. I'm assuming that's what the rules are. We're going to go based on that, but I'm assuming the other situation, the swamp, it only deals with the swamp. So you would have to go down, which means you'd have to click 1. You have to press 1. What am I talking about? You'd have to take Rygar, put him on the rock base level 1, and then climb up 2, would it say essentially, so it would take 3 movement to get on top of the rock on his left. But I believe how the rules have it is that the entire space is now ladder. So we're just going to say 1 for that. You just need 1 to get to it. Which, tough. I don't know. That's tough. I mean, I'm really curious to see what the answers are. It can go either way. I'm fully aware of it. And we'll double check it right after this. So we're going to go with 1. So F is 1. Future Joe here. And I got the rules for the Fortress of the Arkyri open for ladders. So I just wanted to read this little insert here. This says, movement on ladders. Treat each figure on a rung as if it were on a hex-shaped tile space. That key thing right there, hex-shaped tile space, is very important when looking at ladders. And all of the questions from the poll that we just took are normal movement on a hex-shaped tile space applied to figures on ladders except the following. Moving up or down, each rung counts as 1 space. Do not count levels. Figures are not allowed to skip rungs unless they fall off a ladder. Figures are not allowed to fall from any space onto a ladder rung. But from this figure here, if I wanted to jump off, I'd have to go onto the rung and then jump off. And then, of course, apply whatever height damage or whatever. So I can't physically, for example, like if I was Sergeant Drake over here, in this example, if I wanted to jump to the level 1 hex, then I could just essentially jump off. But if the ladder is there, you have to use the ladder space, climb onto the rung, and then jump off. If I go real quick back to the survey here, we're going to go re-go through it and just let you know that these are what are the correct answers are. So the correct answers are, for A, would be 2. You're in the ladder space, you climb up the ladder, that's 1. Get to level 3, that's 2 movement. B, how much movement does Rygar need to get onto the ladder? 1. The whole space is ladder. So you just kind of like, slide yourself right into the ladder rung, that's 1 movement. C, how much movement does Rygar need to get onto the landing space of the ladder, of the level 1 rock hex? So, obviously, we're at level 3, we want to go to level 1, and we have to use the ladder. So we're going to climb onto the ladder rung, and then essentially fall off. So if this was any higher, you could essentially skip the other rungs and fall down if you're tall enough, essentially, without being large or huge, because figures that are large or huge cannot use the ladders. D&E here. How much movement does Rygar need to get to level 2 swamp and the level 2 rock hex? So right over here is the rock, right over here is the swamp. So what we got going on is he's on the ladder rung, and he can just essentially scoot over to the rock or the swamp, both cost of 1 movement. Simple enough, done. And then for F, how much movement does Rygar need to get to the adjacent level 3 rock hex? 1. Why is it wrong? 1? Well, this is how, because it's both level 3, right? The entire space is ladder. If the ladder was connected to the rock, it would work the same exact way. You can do it either way. The ladder represents what that full tile would be, is just all ladder. This whole tile, ladder, all the way up. So it only takes one movement to get to the top of the rock X. We know this due to the post, straight from the man himself, Craig Van Ness. He has Nigat Saw here, and he's climbing up the ladder. He's on this top rung at movement 4, and he can just jump right to 5, right up top there. That proves it. That shows it off. Obviously, is the orange path legal? And then yes, it is. I think what solved this, I think for me, like I just said earlier, was if I look at the official rulings, it is this right here. Treating each figure on a rung as if it were on a hexed shaped tile space. Simple enough. Simple enough. So that is that, and I think I will send it back over to Past Joe to finish off the video. This was really interesting for me. I hope it was really interesting for you, and this is why I would like to hope to start making a brand new manual with not new rules, but answering these questions. These are the questions we need to have answered. So if you want to check out that, I'm going to put that link in the description below, but you can also click the thing up there. We'll bring you to another video where I talk about how I want to make a brand new manual. That's the ultimate HeroScape guidebook. I'll leave this post in there as well. And please, if you can, join the Facebook group, join the Discord, and support Ladders. And with that said, do not forget, I am not crazy. I'm Joe Crazy. Peace!